Years ago, what year? It was 2010. It was not 2009. It was 2010. I went to a Club Femme event. I don't remember where it was held at. That has to do most likely with my memory issues. Point being, I met this female through, which it was kind of weird because Club Femme is female dominance, male submissives. But Marie had been at an event with Lucille BallBuster at the Club Femme event. And the situation that was presented to me by Lucille BallBuster, a professional, well-known dominatrix, she said that Marie was her slave or submissive. Now, I'm not trying to make a bigger deal out of this than needs to be, but there's a lot of stuff that just didn't make sense to me. So right after, there were several sequence of events that just made no sense. So I'm going to have to go backwards. It really has to be that way. So backwards, kind of forwards and backwards. So starting with, that is how I found out about Marie, was through her being Lucille BallBuster's slave or submissive at a Club Femme event, despite the fact that Club Femme is female dominance and male submissives. So right before I met with a female I knew from New Jersey named Kelly Gann, who is now my ex that I wound up in Washington State with. That being said, obviously with my son, but Jesse Leroy Hoover Jr. So right before meeting with Kelly Gann and Thomas at the NRA gun show where I got the coin from Arlie Ermy after the police officers, there was a phone call I received from a friend who's like family, and Flamey had told me that she had something really important to tell me. And so I pulled over because something felt weird, and she told me that Marie, I don't know what her FetLife name was, she had died, apparently. And Flamey knew that I knew Marie through, I don't know if she knew that I knew Marie through Lucille BallBuster, but that's how I knew her. So prior to that phone call where Jesse Leroy Hoover Jr. had to drive, I couldn't handle it. I was extreme because I made the effort to actually be okay to introduce her to my son, her knowing what was going on as far as my children were concerned, both my son and my daughter, meaning my son making sure as best as possible for him while everything that was going on with my daughter. I went out to the gun show, but either the day before the gun show or the day after, actually drove by the last place because it was in my GPS. The address was still in the GPS. So I drove over to the place in Galveston and knocked on the door. There was nothing inside. And when I got back on the computer at some point, it had been found out that Marie had faked her death. And I had posted something along the lines of like a goodbye, but it was before I knew that she had faked her death. Some people made fun of me about that, and I was like, no, if that's the way she wants to treat the situation, especially with everything that was going on at the time, knowing what I was dealing with in reference to my son and my daughter and the whole situation, something like that, and not just like me, but like the entire community, of course, but it was one of those, no, like, that, no, knowing the head injury stuff, knowing all that sort of stuff, no, I don't care. Like, people made fun of me afterwards. By that time, I had had so many people making fun of me in the BDSM, LGBTQP, and swinger communities that it was like, I don't really give a damn. As many of you have ostracized me and made fun of me for the threats that I receive, you can continue making fun of me all you want for not knowing, because I hadn't been informed, that she had faked her death. So that's on, if you guys choose to do that, that's what you guys choose to do. But you guys have made fun of me as much as you have. So go ahead and make fun of me some more, because that's all I'm accustomed to from so many. Where nobody, like, in person when I was being attacked, not forgetting the amount of people that made fun of me for the threats I received online. You want to do that? Go right ahead. If she wants to tell people that she's dead after and not that everybody knew at that time, realistically, that I had gone and introduced her to my son, but it didn't matter at that point, because by that time I had already been told that it was okay for one of the male dominants at the crossroads to bull rush me and knock me over for attempting to apologize for stuff that other people started up, that I didn't say, that they told him that I said, as well as the married couple that had gone off of what other people had said instead of the words out of my mouth, and not forgetting the reason why we broke up to begin with. So all sorts of stuff. The owner of that particular location in San Antonio taking the side of the individual who pushed me and knocked me onto concrete when I went to apologize after all sorts of stuff, and I said that, okay, I just won't bother you. And then after I sent that via message, I was told, well, you're not allowed to come back now that you said that. How do you fire someone after they quit? I don't know. But it was one of those, if you're going to put that many people at risk, and you're going to take everybody else's side before the one person you know doesn't lie to you, the one person who doesn't BS you, the one person who actually attempts to assist in the community without looking for anything in return except for mutual respect. And that's it. So the amount of individuals who came in reference to that response, how many of you have been making fun of me by that point? How many of you had said that what I was dealing with my children was not nearly as important? How many of you made fun of me for receiving the threats that I received and saying that I was overreacting when I received threats that I was going to be kidnapped and taken out of the state, kept at the foot of my captor's bed? Irony of ironies. Literally was with the individual that wound up doing that. Irony. So, when individuals, by that point, I hadn't been involved with the scene for several months by that point, making fun of me some more, what else is new? Right? So, while not many individuals knew that I had actually gone that far, by that point, how many people in the community actually checked on me? I checked on people. Other way around. Whole other ball of wax, right? That being said, irony of it being called a community. So, I go to the location known last. I checked that out. Nobody else did. I did that. And prior to introducing in that regard, yes, I was told later, supposedly she met Jesus Christ and she wanted to... Nobody actually told me that in person. So, before that, she actually went with me to Dallas to go to my storage unit, which Alpha Gen X, Patrick Kennedy, had cleared out all of my belongings, except for one poster board, after he kept everything that he wouldn't let me get out of the apartment, all of my furniture that I purchased, all of my stuff. So that weekend, because Marie was with me, went to Sanctuary because apparently I didn't need to, have as much room to get all my stuff. Couldn't make an insurance claim. That was after the U-Haul truck, mind you. So, apparently she had already been to Sanctuary. She didn't have to fill out paperwork. She already been there. Didn't bother me. Why would it? She had been in the scene for years before, as far as I knew. So, rewinding, and continuing to go backwards, because the San Antonio thing was in 2013. The Dallas trip was towards the end of 2012. The people who are like family to me, when I went out to see them before that whole blow up of stuff, which I don't know if anybody knew or saw, but Trish and Marie hung out quite a bit at certain events. I saw that. I saw the two of them talking. And whenever I would walk up, they would split. Okay, that's weird. Whatever. Apparently, I don't need to talk to anybody. So, then there was a point in time where I had seen her at different events. Now going backwards, that's 2011 and 2010. 2010 is when I wound up meeting Marie through Lucille BallBuster. Now I'm going to go back forward. So in 2011, I moved back to the DFW area to, again, try to make sure my daughter's taken care of while making sure my son is taken care of, despite some individuals who, for whatever ignorant reason, thought that there were more events in DFW, Dallas specifically, than Austin, Texas. Look that up. Mountain Groups is a really good example. And then I get a phone call from one of the former male submissives that had gone to dominant. TM, former former Bastrop something another law enforcement. He told me that shortly after I found out that Lucille BallBuster and Marie had broken up, there was a fire at not just Lucille BallBuster's place, but also in like the Bastrop region, and where Club Femme encircled, another professional dominatrix instead of, someone who's not a professional dominatrix, but still a dominant and a female, obviously. Right? Proof's in the pudding. So, I didn't put that together back then, that there was the fire right after Lucille BallBuster and Marie broke up. Like, that was when the fire in her apartment was. A few other situations I was told of, I can't remember in specific. There were a few dramatic fires that were put into effect, hypothetically, right? And then, when I returned back to the state of Texas, and I'm just going to bite my tongue on that one at this point after certain situations. Come to find out that the people who are like family to me, who, when I went to introduce them to who wound up taking my son and I to Washington State, the day that I was supposed to introduce them, Trish disappeared. There was a fight as soon as apparently she was told that I was showing up with my now ex-boyfriend and my son. Now, I'm not trying to be all conspiracy, whatever. It's just a weird bunch of coinkydinks. Just a whole bunch of weird coinkydinks all in one. And so, apparently, Trish came back after I was no longer in the state of Texas. Somehow. Just so happened to show back up. And then Marie all of a sudden gets involved with those exact individuals. And apparently caused a whole bunch of problems to that group of individuals who are like family. To the point of taking advantage of certain aspects and levels that I didn't remember at the time that they were discussing. And then the other kicker is the event before the 4th of July event, where a whole bunch of drama occurred. Not my fault, but, I was blamed again for something I did not do. What else is new? Tired of other people blaming me or having blamed me for things that I didn't do. However, there was a blonde female that kind of reminds me, now that I think about it, looked like Christine from the Jade Wolf Coven. And if Steve, or Steven, Jamie's ex-husband, though they were still married, but not, like, they were legally married, but they were going to go through a divorce right before, apparently, Jamie died. Well, I saw him, if I'm not mistaken, at that same location right before that 4th of July event at Crossroads. And as I said, what reminds me of Christine with blonder hair, like she had done something to her hair. That would be the one that, was in the stocks. I think she went by the name of Molly that night. And then was upset because I told her I don't do any aftercare beyond here's something to eat, here's something to drink, here's a blanket. If you want snuggles from someone, you might want to get somebody else because I'm not the person who's going to do that for you. She said, oh, I'll be fine. All right. I did not. I struck Peter harder than that female when she cried out. Those who know Peter know exactly what I mean. Peter's essentialist. Struck her harder than that blonde female named Molly that looked like Christine from the Jade Wolf Coven. Who, Christine, was upset because when she left her husband, Mike, whatever number time by that point, had tried to say that I cheated with her non-husband, though didn't at all, and then was mad because I told her the truth. And then when I didn't fight to stay in the coven that I wasn't fully convinced would be worth my time, she got upset because I wouldn't waste my time attempting to fight to be in a coven that didn't seem to be worth my time when I had to do all the ritual work to begin with as soon as I got in the coven. And so, yeah, those three along with, if I'm not mistaken, her name was Sarah or something, that was Christine's friend, who also happened to be friends with Discordia, also known as Erica, the one that stole the garden gnomes. Apparently the people behind me in that apartment 737 don't like the fact that, they've been doing that randomly, even though, there have been times when I haven't been doing the videos and they just have apparently issues that either they need to go get checked out mentally for or whatever. But if they happen to be individuals that cause problems to my Medal of Honor art project, then I guess they're just haunted because they're married to my dead ex-husband and I'm not going to divorce them, no matter what they do. And so, but Christine threw a fit. She threw a fit all up in the pagan community because I would not fight to be a part of the coven. Now, here's a funny little thing. One evening, when doing a ritual, after I set up the circle, I called the corners, I invoked who I invoked, as Jamie, Tina, and Christine watched because they didn't have a clue. They were only going off of books. And even that. Sometimes yes, sometimes absolutely not. And so Christine wanted to do a ritual. Well, I had done some work in my house in San Antonio, and she wanted a blood ritual, and it was like, I don't think so. I don't feel comfortable And since she wanted to throw a temper tantrum, well, I told Jamie, I said, I have this blood blister from my hand right here. You can actually see part of what's minimal-ish of the scar. And so, said if it has to be, and she won't stop whining like the pathetic, incompetent, whiny, ignorant lack of anything worthwhile, claiming to be a Satanist and yet not understanding the slightest behind it. Fine, but it's only going to be from that blood blister. And Christine was so excited, and I looked at her and I said, do you understand what a blood blister is? She was like, it doesn't matter as long as it's blood. Shows how little you know by a lot. So after all of those wound up doing their little parts, took the needle, put it in the flame since they didn't have any alcohol to clear it in. So I just waited until it got as red as my hair, redder, a little bit more orangey red. And, waited till the very, very tip was as white as my nail, holding on the needle. And then just slice it and give. Those who know what a blood blister is know that that is dead blood. That is not live blood, which would be an odd little coincidence. And, that ritual was done how many years ago? Back in 2004? But then again, I also don't feel bad in reference to that ritual because, well, I hadn't known it yet till much later. That part of the conversations I had to deal with in reference to my now dead ex-husband were because Christine, Tina, and Jamie informed my now dead ex-husband while he was alive, before and during the first separation. So I dealt with quite a few conversations because of them. The biggest kicker is that Christine claims she had written what she called a motherfucker of a curse. And I looked at her when she told me that and I said, it's really odd that you would want and be proud of that. And she said, well, she had all these powers. I said, you do understand that you meddling is not actually a power. That's you meddling and making people think something. That's not actual power. Actual power is being able to do certain things without directly going and getting involved. And she threw this fit similarly to when discussing things with Marie, similarly to discussing things with Trish. And, well, I've been doing energetic things for quite a few years and whatever by time standard. So while Christine and Marie and Trish tried to explain that they had done all these things, I never once saw them capable of doing things in the same way that they claimed. So if there were certain things in reference to that Homeland Security, because, you know, particular individual I was engaged to, not forgetting some other stuff that was going on, and or getting an interconnected web between my ex-in-laws, my biological mother, my biological sister, ex-coven that I was just a satellite for. I didn't actually join. Though I will say, when I spoke with Jamie, after my now dead ex-husband died, and told her, because her number was in his cell phone. Well, she apologized for a few things. We talked about a few things. Said she wanted to make things up for what was done, that she allowed to happen. I didn't understand what she meant at that time, but I have a feeling that I understand now. And since those individuals apparently got involved the way they did, I wanted to clarify that among a few other things. You know, not really, I can't be the only person who does not like being blamed for things that I didn't do. And so, you know, if those individuals were involved with other things, despite how I had been treated, despite certain situations that did occur, that were ignored, I suppose you can get your justice for that, right?